On to red. We shall begin with Consuming Sinkhole that reads 4 damage, 4 damage to target player. Okay, that's pretty bad. Or 4 damage, exile target land creature. Please jam this in your sideboard and don't play it main deck. It's not quite Lava Axe, but I'm not a fan of Lava Axe. It is instant speed at least. But I mean, if you're playing a very aggressive deck and this is basically 4 mana, 4 damage to a player, it's still kind of overcosted. But I would probably play Consuming Sinkhole in the board unless you got like super dedicated. I would like to point out, look at the art of this. Ondu Rising's getting wrecked here. Like, just got legitimately wrecked. Eldrazi Aggressor. Hey look, 3 mana, 2/3, like every other creature in this format. Get his haste if you have control another colorless creature. Okay, it's fine. I'd play it. The fact it's a 3/2 or a 2/3, not a 3/2, means it's kind of not as good. But you're probably gonna play this in the black-red aggro deck, or even in the blue-red devoid deck, because it's fine. Eldrazi Obligator. So it's 3 mana, 3/1 haste. Sweet, very aggressive, very aggressive. But it also has the Treason effect for 1 and a colorless. That is a very powerful effect, especially if you're in the black-red aggro deck. This is exactly the type of card that you can play on turn 3 if they don't have a creature and just get in there. Or you get the active Treason effect, and it's upon cast, not even upon resolution. So even if they counter the Obligator, the trigger still gets put on the stack. Very good in an aggressive deck. Less good if you're not that aggressive. Pretty obvious, right? I think it's fine. It's not. I like the black one, with the cast ability a little bit better, but I think this card is still quite powerful. Immobilizer Eldrazi. That's a fun one to say. 2 mana, 2/1. Each creature with toughness greater than its power can't block this turn. Have we seen how many 2/3s exist? How many 2/4s exist? How many 3/4s exist? This thing makes so many creatures unable to block. And you can even, in the late game, play this and activate the ability right away and then get in there. Another very good aggressive card. It's pseudo a bear with upside, and I am a fan of Immobilizer Eldrazi, specifically in black-red more than other things, but sometimes it just says, creatures your opponents can't control can't block this turn. Whew. Super spicy. Speaking of spicy, Lex Return. Now we can go into the implications of how this is going to be great for Tron or other constructed formats. We're going to focus on limited here. Pyroclasm? It's okay. It's not great. The fact, again, there are a bunch of 2/3s running around. But the second ability, whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell with CMC greater than 7, or 7 or greater, you can deal 5 damage to each creature. That effect is huge. I think this card is very powerful. Definitely a card that I will take pretty early in Limited, and maybe even splash it, because there's a fair bit of high CMC Eldrazi that you can cast. And then if you ever get that second trigger, they're just sad. Maw of Kozilek. So it's a 4 mana 2/5. Huge butt. That you can make it into a 4/3. Or, like, you can give it +2/-2, right? So it becomes a 4/3 or a 6/1. And it just costs 1 colorless. The 4/3, the fact that it can become a 4/3 is actually pretty huge, and the fact that it become a 6/1 is pretty huge. Because you can attack with it, right? And they block with their 2/3 or their 2/4, and you get to eat it. If they double block with 2/2/3s, right, you make it a 6/1 and you trade for both. So it just trades super effectively with a lot of creatures in this format. The constraint to here is, can you get colorless mana? Right? That is the ultimate thing here. If you can, this card is pretty powerful. I think this is very people are unaware of how powerful this effect can be if you have colorless mana. I'm actually pretty high on Maw. I'm probably not going to play too many copies because, of course, it's a 4-mana 2/5, but the effect is very strong. Reality Hemorrhage. So it's not Ghostfire. It's a shock. Wait, am I still going to play a 2-mana shock? Yup. Fine, limited card. 2 damage versus 3 is actually a big difference, but it's still completely playable and limited. Akum Flame is funny, right? The fact that it costs 2 instead of 3 is the big difference between the black removal spell and this one. Akum Flameseeker, 3-mana 3/2 that you tap it and untap ally to reverse loot. I'm not a fan of this card. Okay. Boulder Salvo. So it's a sorcery. It's either 5 mana, 4 damage to a creature, which we've seen this effect before. Totally limited playable, but also surge cost 1 and a red. So completely powerful, or completely fine. How is 2 damage with still toughness? Again, you can make the argument. It's an instant. I think the other one was also an instant. But it also can just dome the face. I still think that this card is fine. Or like it's still better than the black one. Because it costs 2 and not 3. And it's just more efficient with that. It's also great with Surge. So this card, pretty good. 4 damage is very relevant. And I'd pay 5 mana for a 4 damage spell. I don't want to play too many, but it's fine. Brute Strength. 2 mana, +3/+1 and Trample. Ugh. It is an okay combat trick. It's the more aggressive you are, the better this card is. But it costs 2 for the effect, which might be a little bit high. But if you're a good aggressive deck, I'd probably play a couple copies of this because getting Trample means you can punch through a bunch of damage. Shandra, insane and limited. I don't really have to say much. She's a good planeswalker and limited, and she either blows up the board, which is great, puts 6 power worth of 6 power into play in attacks, or Wheel of Fortune's +1, also great. Shandra is a very powerful effect, and I shouldn't need to say that you should play your powerful planeswalkers in limited. It's also a combo with all the oaths, right? JK. Cinder Hellion, 5 mana, 4/4 Trample. Okay, I mean it's got a decently sized body, and there's a battlefield 2 damage to target opponent. It's okay. If you want a top end for your red aggressive deck, that's what you want for limited. Now Devour in Flames is sweet. So it's 3 mana, 5 damage, and you bounce a land. Totally powerful. I think this card is very good. One of the better uncommons in red that you can pick up, and I'm totally on board for a very powerful removal spell. Embodiment of Fury. 4 mana, 4/3. Okay, the body's very good for this format. Trample. Okay, good and aggressive. Land creatures you control have Trample. Okay. Landfall. You can have a land, become a 3/3 with haste until end of turn. It's important to note that this combos really well with Awaken, because Awaken makes the land 0/0s. So if you already have an Awakened land, this does in fact give it +3/+3. This reminds me of the blue one that gave him flying, though flying's way better. You don't have too many ways to awaken already, so you're basically making it a 3/3. But that's not unreasonable. I think this card can be very good in an aggressive deck and very powerful. It reminds me a little bit of a Akum Stonewaker, but you don't have to pay the cost for it, so it's pretty huge. Expedite. 1 red, target creature gains haste, draw a card. At least cycles, whatever. Okay. If there is anything you're going to listen to me during this entire set review, listen to what I'm about to say about Fall of the Titans. Just listen. Just listen very carefully. Let me get my drink, build up the dramatic tension. This is the best card for Two-Headed Giant, hands down. Because you have your partner cast a spell, and it deals damage to each of up to 2 creatures or players. So you're paying red X to deal damage. However, each opponent is a player. So it deals 2x damage to the opposing team. I'm going to let that sink in here. Fall of the Titans is a double fireball to their face. Yes, you can kill 2 creatures with it. Yes, your partner may not have a spell. But if you have Fall of the Titans in your deck, card is actually absurd. In limited, if you're just playing on one-on-one, normal standard or normal stock pre-release, card is also just it's also pretty powerful. Not much else you have to say about it. It's an expensive bonfire crater's claw sort of thing, but it's still very good. Okay. If you're playing Two-Headed Giant, just play this card. It's absurd. Goblin Dank Dwellers. I mean Dark Dwellers. No dank memes here. 5 mana, 4/4 Menace. Great. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast an instant or sorcery card with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Great. There's always a fair bit of instants or sorceries with it, and it's just a very powerful card. On to Goblin Freerunner. 4 mana, 3/2 with Menace. A little bit expensive for what it does. But if you have the Surge cost online, it's pretty strong. Totally losing my voice here. Now you have Kazoos Toll Collector. 3 mana, 3/2. Attach an equipment you control to it. But there's not many good equipments. Drat. So close. Toll Collector, so close. Oath of Shandra is a 2 mana, sorcery speed, 3 damage to target creature. This is probably the most limited playable of any of the oaths. Because a 2 mana, sorcery speed, 3 damage spell is okay. Not great, but it is a fine removal spell, and I'll probably play copies of it. Okay. So press into service. Because of the order here, it's a little bit different. So it's a 5 mana Act of Treason that has support 2. It is sorcery speed, remember. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of 2 target creatures before you gain control of target creature. If it was the other way around, you could take the creature and then put a counter on it and another creature you control. Yes, it's got long-term downside, but maybe the short-term you want that extra point of damage. I'm not a fan of press into service. Again, I think support is very, very weak. They overcost a lot of the things that had support on it. So I'm not impressed with press into service. I would like to preface Pyromancer's Assault with I love my red enchantments that are built around. I played Knowledge and Power. I played Burning Vengeance. Support. Can put it on target opposed creature. Okay, never mind then. I'm still not impressed with support though. Touche. You got me on that one. It is 1 in the morning. I'm still not impressed with the card though. So while I love build around, the fact it costs 4 might not be good enough for Pyromancer's Assault. It makes me sad. Reckless Bushwacker is the coming back of Goblin Bushwacker for the aggressive deck. So it's a 3 mana 2/1 with haste. That's kind of subpar. But if you get Surge, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste. So this basically says play a creature, then play Reckless Bushwacker. The creature you played first gets haste and +1/+0. Your other creatures get +1/+0. And this guy comes into play and he also gets to attack for 2. Very powerful if you're an aggressive deck. I think this guy is very good. And he's an ally, but it's not the most relevant thing. Sparks Mage Gambit. 2 mana, 1 damage to each of 2 target creatures. Those creatures can't block. It's like Wrap in Flames. I've never been a fan of Wrap in Flames. You might want to copy if you're in a very, very, very aggressive deck, but don't play more than 2 copies of this, probably. Tears of Allocute I see basically as a sideboard spell. Can't be countered. 5 damage to target creature with flying. This basically says kill target Dragon Lord Ojutai, by the way, for constructed. But for limited, just leave it in the board, bring it in against your blue flyer opponents. Tyrant of Allocute, 7 mana, 5/4. Okay, by that point, I'm a little bit not happy to play it, but if you ever get it with Surge and you get to Lightning Bolt something, card is great. It's a big dragon. You can rarely go wrong with dragons in limited. And lastly, Zetas Commando, 2 mana, 2/1 first strike, another very good aggressive creature, but there's a lot of 2/3s, so he's not going to be as happy here. But at least you can tap it and an ally to ping an opponent. So again, very aggressive creature. You play it if you're a very aggressive deck, but you're going to hold off otherwise because there's, again, too many 2/3s in the format that punish you for that.